All right, what is up, guys? It's VV back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about an update to the banned and restricted card list going into OP05 for us over in the West. I do apologize. This video is a little bit late by my standards, but I had to put out a few videos before this that I had just lined up for the reveal for OP06 that just came out in the East. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. 5-cost Marco, 1-cost Searcher Nami, Edward Newgate the leader, and Dedan are about to be unbanned as of December 8th with the release of OP05. Now, I believe so is the 9-cost character Newgate right here, the 4-cost Marco, and the 1-cost Radical Beam, even though they have not updated that on the list. If you can see here, I do believe they made an announcement about this recently, though. Because you see right here it says this ban, so for Dedan and all the ones above it, Edward Newgate the leader, Searcher Nami, and 5-cost Marco, they all say this. This ban will be lifted on December 8th, 2023 due to changes in the metagame with the release of OP05. So we'll have access to all 4 Marcos, all 4 Namis, of course, Newgate, and all 4 Dedans. But I believe we will also have access to all 4 Edward Newgate, the character, 4-cost Marco, and 1-cost Radbeam. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm 99% sure that's what's going on, is all of it's going to be unbanned. And that has a lot to do with how things looked over in the East in OP05. So let's look at that first. If you look over at the East, now remember, in OP05, they had no restrictions, 0 restrictions on Edward Newgate. They were allowed to have 4 Radical Beams, they were allowed to have 4 Marcos of each kind, and take a look over here on the left. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. But look at this. Not a whole lot of Whitebeard. Yes, there is still some Whitebeard. You see right here for a flagship. You see it right here for it got top 4 it went 6-1 in a tournament. You will still see Whitebeard, but it's not really like the rate at which we used to see him, right? It's way less than what we were seeing in OP03, OP02, and OP03, and OP04 for that matter. But in OP05, it seems like it kind of fixed itself. Right, where it's like, okay, there's not that many Whitebeards. This is completely acceptable. Even when you look at huge tournaments, let me back out some so I can see the size of these tournaments. 295. Here's a 242 tournament. 243. There's no red decks in the top 4 of this one, it looks like. Oh, that was for a 3-on-3, it looks like. But still, you kind of see what's going on here. Here's a top 5, or yeah, excuse me. In the top 500 here, or excuse me, a 500-player tournament. I can't even talk right now. First and second place were both blue-black Sakazuki, with a red Whitebeard list kind of making its way up the ranks here. It went 8-1. So very interesting, but it seemed overall pretty balanced in the current system. We'll see how that happens over in the West, but one more thing I do want to look at real quick is Whitebeard over in the East in OP06. That's right, guys. Not OP05, OP06. So when we have access to, you know, Yamato, Raiju, Still have blue and black Sakazuki, of course. Gecko Moria. It looks like we're still seeing Whitebeard. So my question kind of is like, what do y'all think of this? What do y'all think of them unrestricting these cards? Because here we are. Now, I will say this. I think we have to have a red list, right? Like there does have to be, this is my personal opinion, guys, a well-balanced game. It is evident that a game is well-balanced based on the diversity of decks in the top 32. I don't think it has to be top 8 necessarily, but top 32. If you're top 32 of a tournament or top 64 of a really big tournament is only like 1 or 2 decks, or maybe a 3rd deck, that's where there's like some issues, you know what I mean? Or if like there's just a massive over representation of 1 or 2 decks, I do feel like there's a little bit of an imbalance there that needs to be addressed. But in how do I say it? This seems fine, right? So far from what I've seen, and this is just my personal opinion here, it looks like so far so good with OP06, right? Like, you know, we're seeing Whitebeard. Like I said, Whitebeard is still a big, like it's Whitebeard and Zoro seem to be the red decks coming out of OP06. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So ultimately I'm asking y'all. Oh, and Red Purple Law, by the way. Red Purple Law and Red Purple Luffy might have something to say about it as well. especially when it makes over to the West. We'll have to see. But what do y'all think about the unbanning of the cards for Edward Newgate over here in the West for OP05? I personally think it is a good thing. I do think it is completely fine. Now, I say that I actually expect Whitebeard to be way more dominant over here in the West than it was in the East in OP05. I could be wrong. You know, I'm not saying I'm not a prophet, guys. I'm not some kind of, you know, fortune teller where I can just tell you what's going to happen. I'm just saying if I had to make a prediction, I do think that Whitebeard will do very well over here in the West in OP05. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I think Blue-Black Sakazuki is going to be very powerful. And from what I saw with some of the lists, there was a Newgate list that was just gobbling up Blue-Black Sakazukis. I think it went like 5-1 against Sakazuki. In fact, I can even show you the list. If I'm not mistaken, it's this one. I'll show you. Deck list, OP05. And then you go down to right. It was not that one, excuse me. It was this. No. Here it is. Top 32. It went 8-1. This Newgate list right here. Let's see if they actually show. They don't actually show it. But if I'm not mistaken, at Osaka, this was the list that went. Wait, is this from? Oh, this is from ST10. Excuse me. I was going to say, how do they have this Sanji? But this is from ST10. So this list right here from OP05 actually went 8-1 in an OP05 format. And again, they have access to 4 Rad Beams, 4 Marcos, 4 of the 5 and 4 cost Marcos. And this one didn't even run 9-Beard, you know, the old, or the 9 cost Whitebeard. So this is definitely a list worth looking at. Someone did ask me to like make a list for Edward Newgate for OP05. This is it. This is the list right here. I did not make this list, but this is the list that I would be running going into OP05 if I like to play red decks. If I like to, let me zoom out some. If I were intending to play a red deck in OP05, this would be the one. Other than like red purple Law or something cool like that, red purple Luffy, that's something totally different. But if you're looking to play Whitebeard, this is your list right here, I think. And y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Because this will also transition. Take a look at all these cards real quick, guys. Notice that all this is accessible in OP05, obviously. Now we're going to take a look at OP06 and look at what changed in the deck list. Not, you know, hint, spoiler warning, not much. So this got second place at a 500+ player tournament, going against Blue-Black Sakazukis, Yamatos, Gecko Morias. I don't know what all his matchups were, but I'm saying that was in the format for the Miyagi preliminaries. And take a look at this list, guys. It's exactly what we can run in OP05. So honestly, you might even want to try this list just to get used to how this feels. But I don't know how well this plays into Blue-Black Sakazuki in OP05. We'll have to see. Because the only card that is not accessible... Excuse me, this is OP05. Yeah, I was going to say Nico Robin's OP06. That's not true. Nico Robin is OP05. The one costs 2k with a 1k counter. On play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 1,000 power or less, or lower. You know, here you go, guys. This is what I'd be running if I were playing Whitebeard. It's just a very strong list with a strong leader, strong effects, strong everything. And notice all the rush, guys. You've got 3 cost 5k rusher, a 5 cost 6k rusher. It's got a 6 cost 6k rusher and a 7 cost 7k rusher. That minuses 3,000 to 2 characters. Just extremely powerful. And technically, Jozu can also gain rush, right? If you have less than 2 life in your leader's Whitebeard. So you have that potential as well. Just a very fast deck, very blitzy, and also has a lot of defensive elements as well. 4 Rad Beams, 3 guard points, 1 Rebellious Kit Course to get rid of these cards that don't have any kind of counter on the side, like Luffy and Ace, if you get too many of those. In fact, I was even thinking that it'd be good to go up to 2 Rebellious Kit Courses, but hey, this guy clearly made it work just fine, getting second place in a very major tournament over in the East in OP06. Again, I can't stress that enough. This is an OP06 list, guys. So again, I go back to what is your guys' thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Whitebeard getting unrestricted? I'm just going to say my personal thing about it is I'm completely fine with it now that the game has gone in the direction it has. I was never for the banning of, you know, or the restricting of these cards. I actually thought they should have just banned Newgate to begin with in OP04. Just do that right away and wait for OP05 where it's more balanced. You know, if because I think I've said this before, guys. I'm not going to go into a massive detail. I am against the idea of having any leader that is not balanced around 5,000 power and 5 life. Like, okay, yellow decks having 4 life makes sense since they have the option to gain life. And typically they have a restriction on how much life they can gain if they need to be at like 1 or 2 life to gain life. You know, like with Black, Yellow, Charlotte, Linlin. That makes sense to me. So it also makes sense to me to have their life lower. That's perfectly fine. But I think the whole entire game should be balanced around 5,000 power and 5 life. So I was always against Edward Newgate. And I think because of how strong he was, Red got extremely weak support for about, 3 sets in a row now? Because this is OP06, guys. And notice what we're seeing here. This is nothing but OP01 and OP02 cards. That's it. Because even this Nico Robin, this is easily replaceable. This card is not a must-have. Like, yes, it is a nice utility card, because for 1 cost, you can just take out one of their little blockers so that you can get through with your rushers. I understand the utility of it. I understand it 1,000,000%. But all I'm trying to say is this card is absolutely replaceable, and the list is still extremely powerful, as is. Excuse me. And this is all just OP02 stuff, except 1 OP03 card in Marco, and Bad Manners Kit Courses from OP04 as a one of in the deck. So all I'm trying to say is this list operates just fine without anything special or anything new, and they have not really gotten any incredible support in quite some time now. They got a little bit of an improvement here with Sanji. Sorry guys, these commercials keep popping up on my royalty-free DMCA list. Very annoying. There we go. Okay, but there you go. So that's Sanji. You know, so that's really it, guys. Everything in this list is OP03 and before, except Sanji is ST10, and then Bad Manners Kit Course and Nico Robin. Well, Nico Robin's OP05 and Kit Course is OP04. So there you go. It's still an extremely powerful list. So again, you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. I don't want to rant and rave too much about this. Just to summarize again, I think that Whitebeard is going to be very playable into OP05 and OP06. And the list is extremely strong, guys. I think the list is still very strong. I am happy to finally be back on track with the East. I don't like having my own separate, or not my own. I don't like having our own separate ban list and restriction list over in the West. I have never, ever been for that. Because for example, if a card is so broken that it needs to be banned, well, we saw what that's like right here with Moby Dick, the stage. Ban it everywhere. It was banned in the East and the West. Okay, fine. Now, again, if they wanted to do these restrictions with Radical Beam, Marco, and Newgate and all this, that would have been fine with me if it was a universal restriction list or ban list, not just for one area, not just for one region. Okay, guys, that's about it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave some comments in the comment section below. Tell me what y'all think. Are you for or against the lifting of the restrictions and bans? Or, tell me what you think. All right, guys. Until next time. Peace.